You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, Litecoin, and more. Cryptocurrencies and other digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity. Provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments on everything from coins to tokens, futures, and even OTC options. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVol, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CeFi options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVol Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again with the Crypto Rundown, the program here on the Options Insider Radio Network, where we step beyond the traditional boundaries of our programming, moving beyond the VIX and your Tesla and your Apple and your SPY options and seeing what's going on in those extremely interesting markets out there right now known as crypto. Going to talk your Bitcoin, your ETH, and a whole bunch more. The volatility, the volume, the unusual activity, the skew, and just about everything else going on in between. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-scintillating network upon which so many of you are mainlining these days. We'd love to see all of you joining in there. Remember, if you like what you hear, and you know a lot of you are still new to the world of options, maybe you're coming more from the crypto world than the options world. We get it. We have a lot of great educational content on the network to help you get up to speed. If these terms are thrown around like skew and volatility and all these things are a little bit intimidating, Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio, great places for you to start to get weaned on all these crazy options terms that we're throwing about here all the time. Over a decade's worth of both of those shows for you guys to indulge in at your leisure. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, the roughly 2 shows a day we're hitting you with on the network is not enough. You want to add more to your lives. You want to get exclusive content. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go. Great pro Q&A with Mr. Scott Nations talking about all things volatility tomorrow, answering all of your questions. Options Oddities every Friday, breaking down the unusual activity going on throughout the week, giveaways, and a whole bunch more. We just came back from the big San Antonio Options Industry Conference last week. We loaded up with a lot of great stuff for you folks, so it should be interesting, the giveaways. Make sure, if you haven't checked it out already, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Meanwhile, we have to go on into our next segment. It is time to roll out the Crypto Hot Seat.
Forget about cold storage. It's time to turn up the heat on thought leaders from the world of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. It's time to take their place on the Crypto Hot Seat.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Crypto Hot Seat, the portion of the program where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of crypto derivatives and indeed beyond, and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. And next up on the hot seat is a newcomer to the program and indeed to the network. He is Edul Patel, the CEO of Mudrex. Edul, welcome to the Crypto Hot Seat.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me here.
And Edul, as we are wont to do with all of our first timers here on the program, why don't you give our audience a bit of an overview of your background in the crypto markets, as well as what it is you folks do over there at Mudrex?
Oh, absolutely. I've been a part of the crypto market and have been, actively trading crypto since about the last 6 to 7 years of my lives. We started Mudrex 4 years ago with the goal of making crypto trading and investing easy for the masses. And at Mudrex today, our core product is a product that we call as coin sets. We think that for the vast majority of users, for the average retail investor, it's really, really difficult deciding which token they should buy, when they should enter, when they should exit. And effectively, CoinSets uses an index style approach to let people invest in some of the most popular tokens out there. All you do is one click and invest, and in the background, you let experts from mudrex.com take care of which tokens go and sit inside which basket, when do they rebalance, when do you buy, when do you sell, and all of that. So that's a quick short note of what we do over here at Mudrex.
A lot of our guests come to the crypto markets from different areas, oftentimes different marketplaces, and they have that revelation moment, that moment where they realize, there's something going on in these crypto markets. I might want to take a closer look at these. And the next thing you know, they're starting up an exchange or a brokerage firm or an analytics platform or whatever the case may be. I'm curious for you, Edul, what was that inflection point? What was that moment that really made you want to learn more about these crypto markets?
Yeah, I think in 2017, when I was just transitioning away from my earlier company, I was looking at different technologies and different products, and what was changing the world, and one thing led to another, and I ended up reading the Ethereum white paper, went deep down into the Bitcoin white paper, and really deeply understood why blockchain and crypto as a technology is fundamentally a more efficient way of doing value transfer over the internet. And broadly, because it's a more efficient way of doing value transfer, felt that eventually more and more financial services will get built on crypto. That was a realization, could never go back to doing anything else. It eventually just always seemed that this will be, XYZ will be better built on crypto. So might as well just go there and build it.
And I have to know the name. It is certainly unique, definitely evocative. Where does the name Mudrex come from?
Oh, so Mudrex comes from the combination of two words, mudra and exchange. Mudra literally means token or currency in Sanskrit, and exchange is, of course, exchange. So Mudrex is Mudra exchange.
Let's get a little bit deeper into what you guys offer over there on Mudrex. You kind of just touched on it. It's a different type of offering. You can go to a lot of different platforms these days, and many of them have been on this show over the past couple of years, where you can go and buy spot crypto just about anywhere, it seems like, these days. You guys are doing it a little bit differently. You don't just come into Mudrex and buy the underlying coins or tokens. You actually buy what you call coin sets. You make baskets of different coins. Why did you choose to take this approach, and what sets these coin sets apart from some of the other offerings on other platforms?
Correct. So after speaking with hundreds and thousands of retail users who came across different exchanges to buy and sell tokens, most users told us that they really didn't know what they were doing, and they were just buying, selling tokens randomly because either their friend or their uncle or their cousin told them that this is the new next hot token to get into. And more often than not, they were always either too late and ended up just losing too much money, or they just didn't understand the underlying, and as a result ended up losing too much money and getting exit scammed, right? And to solve for them, what we realized was that a vast majority of people just need a very simple index equivalent product to invest in. So just like how the S&P 500 index and the S&P 500 ETFs helped a vast majority of the average retail investor invest in the equities world, we hope that something like that could be built for crypto as well, so that for the average investor who just wants to get started, who does not have all the time, energy, and effort to pick and choose the tokens and do their research, we could just give them a very simple S&P 500 equivalent for crypto. and that essentially led to us creating coin sets. At coin sets, we created these different baskets of tokens, effectively just like how an S&P 500 has an index. We've got a crypto blue chip index, which effectively is the top 5 crypto tokens in which you can invest in. Similarly, we've got a metaverse index in case you wanted to invest in the metaverse tokens. We've got an NFT index in case you wanted to invest in an NFT token, and so on and so forth. So we've got these 8-10 thematic indexes that you can invest in, and you can let us do the hard work of figuring out which coins fit in inside that index or inside that basket. And all you do is one click invest. And while you go out and continue to do your own research and continue to figure out where you want to invest, how you want to invest, your assets are managed by Mudrex in these coin sets.
Yeah, let's break down some of those coin sets a little bit more. I'm looking right now at the blue chip coin set you just mentioned here, which is interesting. I think everyone can probably name the two that are going to be in a blue chip coin set. Of course, Bitcoin and ETH. And in this case, Bitcoin is 50% of the blue chip coin set. ETH is a third of the blue chip coin set. Then you have three other coins in there. BNB with about 6.5%, Ripple at 5%. That's an interesting choice. A lot of people here in the U.S. like Ripple, but they can't even trade it here in the U.S. It's been pretty much banned from most of the exchanges. And then Cardano. So those are interesting choices to make up your 5 blue chip coin basket. How did you choose, especially the latter? And then also the holding percentages, are those constant? So will it be constantly readjusted? So Bitcoin is always 50%, or do they fluctuate with market cap?
Correct. So these are essentially market cap weighed indexes. So we don't do our own objective differentiation in picking these coins. What we try and do is we try and ensure that we are fair, and we try and make sure that everything just follows a system and a rule. So here, the crypto blue chip coin set picks the top 5 crypto tokens in the order of market cap and weighs them by market cap as well. The only thing that we do on top is that we add a floor of 5% and a cap of 50%, so that the range is meaningful for everyone in between. And that's how this is set up. So of course the constituents keep on changing. In fact, if you had checked this out last week, instead of Cardano, you'd be surprised to see Luna over there as well. And fortunately, it got rebalanced out at the right time for most of our users, and as a result, ended up avoiding the crash that happened.
Yes, a lot of drama with Luna since our last show. In fact, I'm looking here at some of your other coin sets. One of them is Buy the Dip. I have a feeling maybe Luna might make its way into that one eventually. We'll see if it's still around. I'm sure that coin set might be popular right now.
Yeah, so I think a bunch of these coin sets are fairly popular and are growing in popularity. Buy the Dip, of course, is doing really well. And so are some of the other tokens. So, for example, we've got a basket that says what are the latest Binance tokens that got launched, right? And there is literally a coin set that says to the moon as well. Having said that, what we typically tend to ask people is to look at some of the standard long-term investing coin sets like the crypto blue chips and the new crypto stars and so on and so forth of the world that gives them consistent long-term returns. Our goal with the coin set product is to help create long-term wealth, and long-term wealth only comes with compounding and consistently adding money to these tokens or to these baskets.
And I see most of these coin sets are listed with a 1% monthly management fee that seems to be waived right now. Will that always be the case, or will there eventually be a management fee for these coin sets?
We don't plan to add a management fee, at least for the next 3 months. This might change, but anyone who joins when it's free will be free for life.
And just to clarify for our listeners, if they want to come to Mudrex and they don't want to do the coin sets, can they just buy the spot outright, or is it only the coin sets?
Right now, it's just coin sets, but we are also exploring the ability to add individual coins to their own portfolio.
Well, Edul, you have interesting timing joining us here on the program this week. As I mentioned, a very interesting week since our last episode. I was down at an industry conference in San Antonio, Texas last week, and it was unavoidable. Even there, it was mostly an options conference, but even there, the talk of what was going on with Luna and everything else, and just the complete destruction of a lot of these stable coins was top of mind for a lot of people out there. Some of the firms at the conference were being implicated in all that madness. So I'm curious for you, Edul, what has the last week been like for you guys over there at Mudrex? Obviously, we saw aggressive sell-offs as well in the major crypto, even the blue chips in your coin set. You know, Bitcoin broke through 30,000, ETH got below 2,000. Walk us through the past week. What was it like, and what were you seeing and hearing from your users on Mudrex during the height of this sell-off?
Oh, so I think the last week was absolutely crazy for anyone who is closely involved with crypto. With UST, a very popular and a very prominent stable coin, going literally to zero in a matter of hours, and of course the accompanying Luna token also going to zero in a matter of hours, close to $100 billion worth of wealth just wiped out in a matter of days. Right, so it was like interesting is the least that I can say. Fairly chaotic. Having said that, for most of our users, they were fairly well protected because there was almost no exposure. And the best part is that because the ideology of CoinSets and of Mudrex is that you invest consistently, recurringly in almost a mutual fund style investing product. These short-term dips or gains don't really matter. So for most of our users, this was of little consequence because in any of our coin sets, I think the highest holding that was there of Luna was still less than 5%. So as a result, there was no material impact to our users. But of course, there is a general downtrend that the crypto market and then global equities markets are also seeing in like the larger scheme of things, right? So that of course is continues to be a bit of a concern for most users. Having said that, most people on Mudrex believe in the fact that they're wanting to do long-term investing, and as a result, continue to invest recurringly, little by little every single week, every single month.
Did you see any impact to those new investors over the course of the last week? Obviously, you're targeting a newer crypto investor on Mudrex. Were they a little bit spooked over the past week? Did you see maybe a drop-off in new people coming to the platform? Or maybe conversely, did all this craziness, did it drive them to your platform in even greater numbers?
Oh, so actually, what we've historically seen is that whenever dips like this happen, more people come in and more people try to invest. That is mostly because of this, literal buy the dip mentality, and that's again what happened last time, or that's again what happened over the last couple of weeks. Like every time that there is a dip, more people tend to come in and tend to invest.
And of course, you mentioned just the complete destruction of Luna and $100 billion worth of market cap just gone seemingly overnight. Some people were speculating this is going to be the beginning of the end of stable coins out here in the crypto space. What are your thoughts on this just complete destruction of Luna? And do you think this is perhaps the beginning of the end of this whole stablecoin phenomenon?
I actually don't think that it's the beginning of the end for stablecoins. Of course, most other stablecoins are fairly backed. In the case of what happened with Luna, it was nothing else but your plain old simple run on the bank. People tried to withdraw USD and there just wasn't enough. The problem is that the way the stability of Luna and the stability of UST was defined itself was fairly questionable, and as a result that led to the demise. And that's why how algorithmic stable coins work and how do you make algorithmic stable coins work in the longer run is still a large unsolved problem that a lot of people are trying to solve for in the crypto world. It's still very, very early days today. Having said that, and I don't think stablecoins are going to go anywhere.
Now, we talk about a lot of different products and a lot of different marketplaces that aren't always approved for a lot of our audience, which is here in the U.S. I know you guys at Mudrex started out initially overseas. Are you approved here for U.S. traders yet, Edul?
Not yet, but we are applying for our licenses and getting access there soon.
What are your thoughts on the U.S. crypto marketplace? It's, shall we say, a fluid place. We see a lot of assets, like, for example, I mentioned XRP is in your blue chip coin set. We couldn't even list that here in the U.S. So the regulatory space is still a little bit fluid here in the U.S. What are your thoughts on some of the challenges of breaking into the U.S. here?
Absolutely. So, of course, the regulatory environment is fairly forward-looking as such in the U.S. And that's a great thing, because then that gives clarity, and clarity is very, very useful for businesses like ours, because then we can predict and we can figure out how do we enter and how do we move it from there. Uh, we are planning to launch in the US fairly quickly, and in that case, we are also looking at reconfiguring some of these coin sets that end up to suit what's allowed regulatory in the US markets, and to disallow and remove tokens like XRP, which will be frowned upon when used in the US, and of course, just acquiring the licenses themselves take their own fair share of time, and that's what we are going through right now. The regulatory approvals are tough, to say the least.
Well, you're not alone. Most of our guests come on here, Edul, and they complain about the U.S. regulatory landscape. Even big exchanges come on here and they complain about having to do this dance. So you are certainly far from alone in that case there, Edul.
Absolutely.
Well, Edul, I appreciate you taking some time to join us and explain to our listeners a little bit more about what you guys have going on over there at Mudrex. I know you're working on getting approval for the U.S. market, which will certainly be fascinating. We'll keep an eye on that. But while we're waiting for that, if you want to leave our listeners with any interesting things maybe you're keeping an eye on in the crypto space, or perhaps any hints, any teases of what they can look forward to coming down the pike from you guys and your team over there at Mudrex, now is the time, Edul. The floor is yours.
Yes. So guys, we hope to launch in the US fairly soon. We are working on our new app that should make all of this really, really easy. And when it goes live, hopefully along with that, we'll also be able to offer you a limited time offer of getting 14% interest on all your deposits in crypto as well. So look forward to catching up once again once we are live and ready.
Yes, Edul, looking forward to that. And once you get approval, we'll have to bring you back on to catch our listeners up on everything that's been going on over there in Mudrex.
Sure.
All right, listeners, now we have to keep on rolling. It is time to break down that oh-so-fascinating marketplace. It is time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we break down the madness that is unfolding in the world's leading digital asset. Yep, we're talking about the big dog, Bitcoin. Not quite as big as it was this time last week. Of course, not quite as small as it was since the last time we chatted here either. Man, a lot of living going on in the crypto space since the last time we chatted here on the Crypto Rundown program, listeners. On our last episode, Bitcoin was just a wee bit north of 31,000. It was 31,078 to be precise. Coming in to start the show, it was just a little bit shy of 30K. It was about 29,829 when we kicked off the show. So it's down nearly 1,250 handles over the course of the past week. Of course, in between then, it got a little bit lower. It got all the way down, listeners, to 26,292. That was the low on Thursday, and the high came on Tuesday after our last show, a little bit north of 32,000, 32,158. Talking almost a 6,000 point range over the course of the past week. And of course, that nadir really sparked a lot of concern, a lot of fear, and a little bit of vol out there in the crypto space as well. You know, it's funny, coming into Showtime, if you just looked at net show on show, what's been going on from a vol and skew perspective, you might think, it's been kind of a quiet week. How many times have we said on this show that Bitcoin can show moments and exhibit moments of extreme volatility, but then it tends to just revert right back, kind of like the precious metals tend to do. And we saw pretty much exactly that play out over the course of this past week. On our last show, the vol, by the way, all these analytics coming at you courtesy of our friends over there at Genesis Volatility. gvol.io is the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. And if this past week hasn't convinced you, you need to learn more and read more about skew and vol and everything else and track that on a much more aggressive basis, I don't know what to tell you. gvol.io is the place to go. Now, if you fired it up right now, you'd say, we're at about a 79 coming into this show. We were at a 77 last week. Not a heck of a lot happened over the course of the past week. But if you scroll a little bit farther down, you'd see that we hit a high of 132 back on the 12th last week. That was, of course, the apex for a lot of the madness going on last week. So we broke back into the triple digits and then some, 132. So that's quite the pop in Bitcoin vol. And that's also quite the retreat right back down to pretty much where we were the last time you and I chatted. So yeah, just crazy stuff afoot out here. So if you were betting on a little bit of aggressive mean reversion in Bitcoin vol, it worked out pretty well for you over the course of this past week. Simon's BitVol, which is, of course, Mr. Simon Ho, the creator of Spikes. We talk about that a lot on Volatility Views, our volatility program. I saw him this week. Or last week, I should say. He was down in Texas, flew all the way in from Australia. It's fun to see Simon twice in the same week. Haven't seen him in a couple of years either. He also created BitVol, and that is effectively the Bitcoin VIX. It was a 79 on our last show. That one is still looking a little bit frothier at about a 92 coming into the start of today's show. That's more of a rolling 30-day measure of vol. So they're pricing in a little bit more juice going out a little bit farther out. Skew-wise, let's look at the skew, the 1 hour 30-20 skew, which shows you kind of a snapshot of all those options in the 30 to 20 delta range out there. And our last show was a negative 10, so it's still markedly negative. A lot of the concern was to the puts, understandably. And this show, it's about a negative 13. You might say, okay, a little bit more negative, nothing crazy, but it got down as low as negative 25. That was on the same day of the 12th. So the same day of the apex of the vol was also the nadir for the skew there. Negative 25, that's as low as we've seen it in quite some time. So those are some pretty impressive numbers. And also the fact that we can kind of just snap back right after that, also equally, if not more impressive out there. Simon's bit skew kind of looking the same. It hasn't really changed much over the course of the past week. It was 98 on our last show, 96.5 this show. So not a lot of evolution show to show, but in between, we packed a whole heck of a lot of living in there. I mentioned, listeners, if we see an aggressive sell-off in Bitcoin and we hang out there, that's probably going to give the puts the spark they need to kind of come to life. We saw that on the skew, negative 25. That meant a lot of put action. We also saw the vol spiking, which is not usual for Bitcoin. Usually when Bitcoin trends lower, we don't see the vol shoot up. It's not an equity. The bid is to the calls usually, not to the puts. These days, the puts are a little bit juicier. And as we extend down, perhaps below ranges, people expect when we break through psychologically important levels like 30,000 and then hang out there, and then we have other crazy shoes falling like the Luna meltdown. That's going to contribute to a little bit of vol out there. So that's exactly what we saw. Did the puts catch up to the calls? Well, let's find out. It's been mostly 2-to-1 calls over puts for the entirety of this year, listeners. And it's still pretty robustly in the favor of calls, but the puts are catching up. Right now on Deribit, there are 129.3 thousand calls open. That's up about 14,300 calls from this time last week. The puts, 86,000. That's up 18,000 from this time last week. So no longer is it 2-to-1 calls over puts. The puts are starting to catch up. They're still not quite 1-to-1. If we get there, listeners, I would love to go pull a snapshot of the action right when we hit that nadir on the 12th and the vol was popping. I have a feeling there were quite a few puts flying fast and furious at that moment. Now, if we hung out there, if we were still there right now, as opposed to retracing back to close to the 30,000 level, I have a feeling the puts would be even closer to the calls. It might even be 1-to-1. So that would be certainly interesting, but not quite there yet. Listen, let's get on out to the expiration calendar. Where are the size positions open from an expiration perspective? Where are you guys lining up right now? It's still June, front quarterly, dominating the tape, has been for some time. Almost 71,000 contracts open. It's up a little over 10,000 from this time last week. Followed by number 2, May. Now, if you were really betting on some of that aggressive vol and mean reversion out there, probably want to play in May. That's where all the high gamma contracts are. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, check out our Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook radio programs to learn more. May has 50,000 contracts open now. It's up about 11,000, a little over 11,300 from this time last week. And then bringing up the rear is September, 30,600 contracts open there. That's up about 2,000. So people were clearly playing in June this week, but May trying to catch up. It's only got a few more weeks. We'll see if he can eclipse June before it rolls off the board. April went away with about 47,000 contracts on it. So already June and May are outpacing that by a substantial amount. Yes, 47,000 contracts April had on our last show before it went off the board. So yeah, May and June off to a interesting size start from an OI perspective. Speaking of size, let's see where the size positions are open right now in Bitcoin options out there on Deribit. We'll start to the bottom and work our way up. Number 5 here for our top 5. The 70,000 strike that has 9,800 contracts open. That's up a whopping 200 from this time last week. So not a lot of change there. In fact, in terms of volume and size OI, there's not a lot of change this week, which is fascinating given how much movement we've seen over the course of the past week. Number 4 is the 30,000 strike. That has 12,000 contracts open. That is literally unchanged from this time last week. That is strange to me that we've been bouncing around and hovering around and near that 30,000 strike for the better part of the last week, and no change net from an OI perspective. So people were opening, people were closing at the same time. Net unched 12,000 on the week. That is very strange to me. Number 3, the 60,000 strike, also with 13,000 contracts open, also unchanged on the week. So that one is not as surprising to me. I mean, not a lot of people are going to be piling into the 60,000 strike when we're threatening and breaking through the 30,000 and threatening 25,000. That makes more sense. The fact that the 30K strike is unchanged on the week, that one I think bears a little bit more scrutiny. I need to dig in after the show, see what's going on there. And number 2 is the 25,000 strike. That has 13,000 contracts. That is a newcomer to the top 5. So that's kind of interesting. You know, for a while there, we were talking about 50, 60, 75, 100,000 strikes out here in Bitcoin. Not so much this week. This week, number 2 is the 25,000 strike. That has 13,000 contracts open. Again, a newcomer to the top 5. And then number 1 is the 20,000 strike with 14,000 contracts that open. That's also a newcomer to the top 5. So that is interesting as well. Those two breaking into the top 5, going all the way to the top. Again, that's kind of where we were hanging out and threatening not too long ago. So interesting to see the, dare I say it, more relevant strikes popping in and muscling aside the 70,000 and 60,000 strikes to the curb, saying, take a seat, kid. We're here to hang out for a bit. Speaking of hanging out, the markets did a lot of that this week. A lot of paper going up this week out here in the markets this week. You know, it was just a smorgasbord of paper out here. We've been talking for a while out here, you know, 19,000, 16,000. We got a little bit excited a couple of weeks ago on the 5th when we did 28,000 contracts on Deribit. Blew the doors off that last week. It hit 38,000 on the 12th and 46,000 contracts on the 11th. We got to go back quite a ways to nothing. Actually, I don't think anything has eclipsed. That's the busiest day we've seen so far this year. The next closest after last week was the 24th of January with 37,000 contracts. Even the invasion day, February 24th, didn't come close, 28,400 contracts. So this past week, as we broke through 30,000, we're threatening 25,000. A lot of paper on the tape over the course of the past week, listeners. Let's see if that also translated to some paper out there at CME on Friday, which is the last day we obviously have trading data for on the options. 137 contracts going up. That may not sound like a lot, but it is. And also looking at the OI exploded up 1,100 contracts to 2753. That's a huge change. So some folks were awakening to the big 5X CME Bitcoin options. Of course, it helps that we're down, or we were around the 25,000 level at that point. So that 5X multiplier, not quite as intimidating as when Bitcoin's up at 60,000. The futures, actually not quite as robust of a day as you might think. Only 8,000 contracts going up on Friday. The futures have kind of languished over the past couple of months. Not a lot of paper going up out there on CME on the big futures. Some of that obviously being siphoned off by the smaller size contracts. And for whatever reason, the institutions are not just coming to play. We've seen 25, 30 plus thousand contract days easily out there in the futures in the past. I haven't seen one of those in a while. The OI ticking up about 1,600 contracts this week to 11,600. Let's go out to the smaller stuff. That's where a lot of you like to hang your hats. The micro Bitcoin futures. We saw 21,500 going up on Friday. That's not the most active day, but it's a pretty decent day, all things considered. And the OI ticking up about 5,000 contracts to about 20,600 out there. And now, speaking of out there, let's get a little bit further out to explore the madness that is the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
I see our chat throwing some dice at Luna, picking up a couple 100,000 Luna here or there for $20. Hey, if you're going to go buy your scratch offs at the 7-Eleven this week, maybe you take some of that and throw it into Luna instead. Good chance Luna's going the way of the dodo. It pretty much has already, but who knows? We saw it spike over the weekend. Some people thought it might have a chance of being revived. So I don't know if your odds are much worse than your typical scratch off at that point at the corner of 7-Eleven. But let's get into all that madness. Obviously, this is the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we break down everything going on in the world of altcoins. So outside of the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right here, we break down the market cap. And man, you're going to see some changes this week. As mentioned by our guest earlier in the crypto hot seat, Luna, no more. No more in the top 10. Man, it was just wiping out so much market cap in just a blink of an eye. It's a little terrifying, to be honest, out there. Number 10, we have Dogecoin taking up the slack, saying, hey, you kicking Luna to the curb? I'll take it up instead. Dogecoin, my goodness, 8.7 cents now. Wow. How the already meager have gotten much more meager. Man, there was 20 cents not too long ago. And of course, in the Mr. Musk heights of the SNL appearance, it got up to 70 odd cents. So, man, 8 cents now for Doge. Wow. Number 9, Binance is about 18. By the way, Doge has 11.6 billion worth of market cap. That in and of itself is indicative just how low the limbo bar has gotten to break into the top 10 in market cap now. 11.6. It was easily double that not too long ago. So, yes, doesn't cost much to break into the top 10 in crypto anymore. Number 9, Binance. That has 18 billion, pretty much exactly. Number 8, Solana. That one took a bit of a drubbing out there as well, 18.5 billion. Number 7, Cardano, a 19.1 billion. Number 6, XRP, one of the blue chip 5 for the Mudrex folks out there. XRP, 20.25 billion. It's around 41 cents right now. So XRP taking a drubbing as well. Number 5, good old BNB, 48.8 billion. Number 4, USD coin. That's hanging out at 51, almost 52 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, 75 billion. Number 2, looking a lot lighter, it is ETH, 245 billion. And number 1, Bitcoin, threatening $500 billion at this point, down to about 567 billion right now. So yes, man, just a crazy week. If you had told me, hey, last week, by the way, one of these top 10 just going to be wiped off the board, I would have said, I probably would have believed you, but I would have taken a little bit more convincing. I mean, we have seen equities get knocked down as well, but huge market cap going effectively to zero almost overnight. Fairly unheard of. And unfortunately, in the crypto space, that is not the case. ETH, when we kicked off the show, 2,033. So hovering right around that 2,000 level. ETH on our last show was about 2,300. We got down to 1,792 on Thursday, the 12th. Again, that was kind of the height of the madness last week. So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. 1,700. We haven't seen that level in quite some time in ETH. I remember a few years back on the show when we crossed that number to the upside. That was, for a lot of people, it seemed like that was really an inflection point for them. They started really becoming believers in ETH, or just in the price action of ETH, whatever it was, because they started really piling into it. And that next thing you knew, it was 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. And so ETH got a lot of momentum after that 1,700 level, now going back and retracing it in the other direction. And the high last week was 24.44. That was on Tuesday of last week. So nearly a 700-point range in ETH over the course of the past week as well. So again, a lot of crazy action out there. Vol-wise, we saw something similar to what we saw in Bitcoin. If you just fired up the show right now and just looked net show on show, you'd think a little bit of a volatile week, but nothing crazy. We were in 80 on our last show. We're in 89 right now. So the vol has certainly ticked up. But if you looked a little bit in between, you scrolled in a little bit, you'd see that we hit a high of 156 in ETH vol on the 12th. So yeah, vol was popping last week. So if you sold vol on the 12th last week, I tip my cap to you if I was wearing one. You're doing all right now. Because again, this vol reversion has been fairly aggressive out here. In terms of the skew, last week it was just a little bit shy of negative 10. It was negative 9.9. So pretty firmly negative. Negative 17 right now, so still very negative right now. It got down to a low of negative 38 last Thursday. I'll have to go check. That might be the lowest I've seen it. So that's fairly aggressive. That shows a lot of concern. Everyone obviously had concern last week when stable coins were melting down. It was dragging down everything else with it. It seemed like the crypto sky was falling for a lot of people out there. So, wow. Yeah, negative 38. That's an impressive level. Let's see if we saw something similar in the OI, if the puts managed to catch up a little bit to the calls like we saw in Bitcoin. And the answer is kind of yes, kind of. The calls, almost 1.5 million open right now, 1.47 million. It's up 170,000 from this time last week out there on Deribit. The puts, 809,000. So they're no longer 2-to-1, but they're still kind of close to that, unlike Bitcoin. They were only up 94,000 on the week. So maybe the fact that we bounced back from that 1,700 level, maybe that calmed some of the fears out there. If we were coming into Showtime, we were 1,700 or below. I got a feeling there'd be a few more puts open out there right now. In terms of action, again, and how much volume we saw over the past week, this past week, kind of blowing the doors off. 461,000 contracts going up. Actually, not on the 12th this time, but on the 11th. The 11th was the most active day last week, which is kind of interesting. We have to go back a long ways to find anything close to that. And again, it wasn't the February 24th invasion. That couldn't come close. It was actually January 24th. That date kind of gets lost in all the madness of February and beyond. But January 24th was a pretty crazy day for the crypto markets as well. We saw 402,000 contracts going up on ETH that day. So that's the next closest day we've seen this year to what we saw over the course of the past week. Let's go on out to the expiration calendar. Let's see how you folks are lining up right now from an options perspective. And again, ETH is normally dominated by the quarterly expirations. That continues to be the case. June number 1, 652,000 contracts open right now. It's up 44,000 from this time last week, followed by number 2, 458,000. That's up 98,000. So folks coming to play in May. I can't blame you. That's where all the gamma is. If you look at all this action bouncing all over the place, you probably want to have a little bit of near-dated gamma contracts. And folks coming to play in May. September bringing up the rear, 362,000 contracts open. It's up about 13,000 from this time last week. Let's break down some of the size positions out here in ETH options right now. The bottom of the top 5 is, and actually this is where we have our tie, listeners, for the top. We'll get there in a second. Number 5, we have the 6,000 strike that has 94,000 contracts open. That is a newcomer to the top 5. So we're seeing 6K breaking in there, which is kind of interesting. Number 4, the 20,000 strike, still holding court there in the top 5. That has 99,000 contracts open. That's down about 1,000 from this time last week. Number 3, the 4,000 strike with 132,000 contracts open. That's only down 1,000 from this time last week. And there's a tie for 2/1 between the 10,000 and the 5,000 strike. Both of them have 142,000 contracts open right now. The 10K strike adding about 3,000 over the past week, and the 5K strike adding 12,000 contracts. So unlike Bitcoin, where we saw the 20 and 25,000 strike, the, shall I say, more relevant strikes breaking their way into the top 5, not exactly seeing that in ETH right now. We're still seeing the 4,000 strike being the closest to the at-the-money strike in the top 5. 5,000 taking the top spot right now, but you're not seeing any 2,500s or even 3,000s or anything like that, which is a little bit surprising. Let's get on out to the CME land, see if their ETH contracts were trading it up this past week. Friday, we saw 6,000 going up, and the OI ticking up about 600 contracts to 3,600. It's not a ton going up on the big institutionally sized ETH contract, but the micro stuff, that has been lighting it up of late, and that continued to be the case last week. So you folks are tearing it up on the micro ETH futures front. 36,000 going up last Friday. The OI shooting up 30,000 contracts. There's now 74,000 contracts opened on the micro ETH futures front. So you folks were trading them up hot and heavy over the course of last week. Let's get out some of the other altcoin. Then we'll get on out of here for this week, listeners. Again, I want to probably do a deeper dive into all this madness on the stablecoin front, probably coming down the road here on the show. You're probably getting a lot of that out there right now, so break from it on the show today, but maybe down the road we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive, some of our guests, into exactly what went wrong, how these systems to burn one coin to feed the other and try to drive an arb between the two of them, how it fell apart. Some folks trying to point the fingers at some of the firms here in Chicago, the usual suspects, the Citadels and others saying that isn't the case. So maybe a bit of a deeper dive into that might be warranted on the show in the future as well. Right now, let's run down some of the other remaining top altcoin, as Luna has gone the way of the dodo, except for our folks in the chat getting their scratchers. XRP, that's 41 cents, actually almost 42 cents coming in to start the show. It's down pretty much 9 cents. It was 50.9 cents on our last show. Dogecoin, 8.7 cents right now. It was 10.9 cents last week, down a little over 2 cents. Litecoin, 81, almost $82 on our last show, 67.71 today. It's down a little over 14, about 14 and a quarter from this time last week. Cardano taking it on the chin, 64 cents last week, 56 this week, down 7 cents. Polkadot, 11.20 last week, 10.75 this week, down 45 cents. Solana continues to erode, 66.82 last show, 55 and a quarter this show, down 11 and a half bucks. And good old Shiba, those folks waiting for the Lambos, not going to happen this week. They were 0.000015 last week. This week, 0.000012. right, buddy, that music's going to take it away for us. I'm looking at our chat here really quickly before we roll on out of Dodge. That's an interesting poll question you suggest there, Mr. Unlimited. Will Bitcoin hit 10,000 or 100,000 first? I know which way I'm leaning, but you know me, I don't like to express my guess first if I'm going to it might be a fun little flash poll to do. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get the pulse of our audience on that one. What do you guys think? 10K or 100K first? Certainly price action wise, one's a lot closer than the other. But intriguing stuff nonetheless. Hope you guys enjoyed our crypto hot seat today. Want to thank the folks over there at Mudrex for joining us. They're looking to break into the U.S. market here, so always interesting to have new crypto trading and education firms coming into the U.S. Interesting approach, too, trying to take these baskets. So if you are a little bit intimidated, we were talking about that on the conference last week, maybe instead of the dogs of the Dow, the dogs of crypto would be an interesting one, and they seem like they have that with the biggest losers and buy the dip type packages. So if that intrigues you and you're outside the U.S. for now, check them out, Mudrex, Mudrex.com. Hopefully they'll get approved and we can bring them back on to talk about things you folks in the U.S. can do as well. But something you can do in the meantime, of course, is head on over to theoptionsinsider.com/pro, or for the cool kids out there, /secret club. That's where you get access to tomorrow's Pro Q&A with none other than Mr. Scott Nations back in the hot seat. He must really love you guys. Kind of feeling maybe we'll talk about a little bit of crypto vol tomorrow. It is kind of inescapable right now. We'll also talk about his book. We'll talk about NASDAQ vol. Any other questions you guys have about these crazy, topsy-turvy, volatile markets, get them in now. If you haven't joined yet, you know where to go, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. And you too can ask away until your heart's content. Also going to have a double dose of options boot camp tomorrow. Dan's schedule getting a little crazy again with the upcoming retreat over there at Market Takers. So we're going to be recording a double dose. If you have questions for those, get those in for tomorrow as well. For the live folks, everybody else on demand, unfortunately, you have to wait a few weeks to get both of those episodes coming at you. And then, of course, we're back again on Education Wednesday for OPR. Mr. Overby will be here as well. So check those out if you're new to the options market. Always a good place to start. Then we'll see you back here next week, another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
This program is brought to you by Genesis Volatility, also known as GVol, home of institutional-grade crypto options analytics. Whether you're trading CeFi options or DeFi options, cryptocurrencies move. Use GVol Analytics to analyze implied volatility, model realized volatility, structure positions, and unlock alpha. For more information, visit gvol.io. That's GVOL.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.